To the early morning version of TikTok Live. I've got a friend of mine that made a sculpting of a Frankenstein, and he made this mold in silicone right here. Okay, and what we got is we've got it. He stitched it up in the back, did all this. He needs to make a urethane or a latex copy. So how are we going to do that? Well, I asked him what he sculpted it on. He said he sculpted on an Ed head. This here is an Ed head. This is one of mine that I have that I really don't use that much anymore, but this is what is going to be put on. Now what we have to do initially is take all this wiring. He stitched it with wire. So what we have to do is we have to remove all this wiring here and get this off. And I want to see if I can do that without ripping or tearing the actual silicone. So I need to find a tool. I've got a wasp in here that's just trying to bother me. So I've got all this wiring here I've got to take out. He stitched it up. So what I'm going to do is try to find something to clip this and pull it like a pair of scissors. Let's see if I can clip it. There we go. We'll clip it with a pair of scissors. And we start pulling. Would you please go away, wasp? This is my house. This is my shop. It's my business. Leave me alone. Okay, so I have to very carefully take this out. Let me put this over here a little bit so I can get it out of the way. And what I've got to do is, like I said, I've got to very carefully take all the stitching out. And I've cut it. It's going to take me a minute to do this. But I told him I would do it live so he'd see the entire process. Now the goal is to see if I can get the stitching off here and gently thread it back through the silicone and not rip and tear it, okay? Now he sent me this. I told him to send it to me and I would rework it for making a latex copy for him to mold off of. So, and he said that this is a shared thing, so I'm allowed to take the same piece that he has and work it as well. So he's sharing his work with me for doing this for him. So it means that it's kind of like a 50-50 thing where he'll do his, mask and he'll do his thing with this, and then I'll probably put it in a different format. I'll probably make it into like a silicone mold and make a silicone mask from it or something, that type of thing. I did that with my version of Frankenstein over there, but it's so such a thick, cumbersome thing, being so big. And he did this one that's smaller. So we'll just see. It's just going to be something I'm going to try again and see what happens with that. So it's a shared venture with this. I've never done that before, where somebody said, I will share my work with you. You do this mold for me and I will give you 50% of the, ability to make masks and stuff with it. Now, I don't want to step on this guy's toes as far as, if he wants to do latex, that's fine. I can make a latex master, make a latex master for him to mold from. And I'm going to show the entire process of how to do that. So he will be able to learn better mold techniques. And with his, when he has a latex master, see, I'm going to do all the hard work for him. And mold it and do all that and make a master copy for him, which means it's going to dwell in latex for, 3 hours to be pretty thick. And then I'll pull it, powder it, and do all that and send it to him. And then the thing is then I can do this in a fiberglass mold and see how it comes out and see if I can make a child size, possibly, Frankenstein mask. Of course, crediting him for the work, the sculpting work, but it's a possibility I could do this because this would be, it's an adult kind of mask, but it could also be a small child's mask. So I'm pulling all this wiring. I'm going to save this wiring because I may need it for something. So basically all I'm doing is just chatting while I'm doing this. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them. All I'm doing is just clipping where he pulled this wire together. Can't get that clip, so I'm just going to pull this right here and unthread it. And then we're going to put it on the ed head and see how it fits. So it's going to take me a few minutes to do this unthreading. Now see, I'm not above helping other artists with the work. That's what I'm here for, to help, to teach, to learn, to do all that. And I'd like to do it live in every video, like when I'm sculpting and stuff like that. I like to do live so I can show people the entire process, so they know that A, I did it, and there can be no discrepancies about who did it and all that. I can show them different techniques on how to work in clay, the actual process of, clay building, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of people out there that have always wanted to get into doing stuff like this, but they've never felt confident enough to do it. And that's part of the process. Once you build your confidence, you can, one thing you guys need to know is in doing something like this, you are going to A, make mistakes, and B, you are going to quote unquote fail, but there is really no such thing as failure unless you give up. That's the thing. People that give up are the ones that fail. But there's no such thing as failure if you keep at it and you work and you do it and you learn from your mistakes and you do it and try different things, because there's no real universal method for doing anything. A lot of people like to say that the way I do some things are like, oh, that's not the way I would do it, or that's not the way I was taught. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But, it's like there's different ways. I always say there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but there's only one way to eat it. All right, we got another thing out. Now, we're slowly working. He cut this thing and he wired it. So you see this cut in the silicone. It's about 1/4 inch, not even 1/2 inch thick. I don't know what this is. I think it's Rebound 25. I'm not exactly sure what the silicone is, but based on the color, that's what I'm thinking it is. So I'm, like I said, very carefully working this out, all this wire stitching. He's got some here that's twisted around, and it's all twisted up. And just so you see, that's what it is. It's little green wire stitching. Pottery wire or something. And I've got to carefully take this off and try to A, cut it, or B, I figure if I cut it, it's easier to take out. Thing is, which side comes loose first? And I got to be careful to not cut the silicone. So I get in under the stitching here. At the seam. A pair of scissors and cut it. That way it doesn't rip and tear the silicone. Now, if this were thinner silicone, yes, it would definitely be a problem because it would rip and tear. So see, now I have that much done. And I still have to do this much, but it should be fairly fast, fairly easy, as long as I go slow. That's another thing that is required in this, patience. If you have all day, don't rush it. Just take your time. Like right now, what I'm going to do for this TikTok Live is just take this apart, fit it on here, and then start the seam work. We'll see how it fits first. Then we're going to have to make a plaster mold over this, plaster bandage mold, because we want to have this encased in a hard shelf type thing to hold it, because we are going to make a clay pour of this, and I'm going to go through that entire process. I'm going to make a clay pour of this and show you exactly what that is. Same thing I did for my Part 4 Jason there that I'm working on. Okay, we're working the very large stitching out right here. Just pulling it out. This was a pretty ingenious idea, Gary. I'll tell you that much. I think this is a technique I would have never done or really thought of, because the way I work silicone when I've cut it is I seam it with silicone, but I use the hardware version. That's another thing. A lot of stuff I use in the shop is stuff you can get at the hardware store. You can get GE, a tube of GE #1 silicone, hardware store. You don't have to go buy all this expensive stuff from these companies. But you can do this like so with hardware materials. You just have to know what. And somebody I can recommend for another hardware store how-to guide. If any of you guys are on the other platform that ends in book, there's a guy named Alan Hops. I don't think he's on TikTok. I don't know if he's on TikTok. But Alan Hops is one that I learned a lot from insofar as how to do your own molding, stuff like that, with hardware tools. I've been watching him and following him for a number of years. I mean, it's probably over 15 years now. Way back in the day before I got started and stuff, and I was asking people who were the people to do this. Alan specializes in haunted house work. He's one of the big names for working on the haunts that you guys go to every year, various places all across the country. We have Woods of Terror, Maze of Terror, We have a bunch here in North Carolina. I work at one, Maze of Terror. And every year, Alan's not visited that one, but every year they coordinate a haunt, and the big fellas, the big guys, Alan goes to and teaches classes on how to act and scaring and doing all that type of thing. Because they hire people to work for them. Some of you guys may have done that yourself. Some of you may have done it yourself. So, but here we go with this. We are getting down to the finish line of this wiring. I don't want to call it. And there is something in here that's got this hung up. There we go. So all I'm doing is like pulling this out. It's already heated up and got hot and I'm sweating. I had the fan on behind me, but I had to cut it off so I could talk to you guys. You could hear what I was saying. So, okay. So the next step is to fit this on here, make sure it fits. Then we're going to make a plaster bandage mold for it, but I'm probably not going to do that right now because that is a lengthy process. I've got some things to do this morning, but I did want to make this video for you guys to show, basically just to show how this process is done and what I'm working with. So here we go. Last piece of wire out. Done. No more wire. Now we've got a cut that goes all the way up here. So how am I going to fix this? Let's put it on the ed head. See how well it fits. I'll turn this around. If we seam it up, turn it around, we seam it up. What I'm going to do is seam this up so it fits over the ed head. I'm going to start the seam process. I'll show you because I'm going to seam a line and I'm going to pin it. And I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like here. Okay. Right here. Now we got this on here. And what I want to do, put the seam back together and lock it together. Right. So this is not the initial, this is just a mold of the casting. There was about 3/4 of an inch of clay between an ed head form like this and the outer shell. So there's gaps in here. But what I'm doing is I'm just going to put this on here. I'll be right back. Hang on, don't go anywhere. I've got to get my silicone. Uh-oh. I have it over here. What am I doing? I have my tube of silicone over here somewhere. It's always over here. It's always over here. I don't know what I'm doing. Hang on. Oh, here it is right here. Things get falling off the table and everything. This is what you need. This is a simple tube of GE #1 silicone. Clear. See? GE #1 clear silicone. Now there's people in the industry, the professional industry, that despise and hate this stuff. And I'm going to tell you why. Because a lot of people will use this and try to make stuff with it, and it doesn't always work for them. But this is silicone, and the rule is silicone sticks to silicone. So what we've got to do now, and like I said, let's just try to squeeze this out, but it's not. It's got a lump of silicone that's stuck in here. I got one of my pins. Jason, hold that for me, will you? Going to get this lump of silicone out of here. Put this right here. Out. You don't want to stick your fingers. Ow! Again. Okay. Get that little plug out. I'm going to put that right there. Okay. Get that little plug out. I'm going to put that right there. Hi, baby girl. Maddie, don't bump the camera, please. Going outside. It's hot. I got the dogs outside. Please don't come in here and bump the camera. Maddie, please don't bump the camera. Thank you. Be a good girl. I got my Cane Corso in the shop. You want to say hi to people on the Tiki-Takis? Say hi, baby. Say hi. Bye. Bye. There's Maddie, 5 months old. Say bye. Okay, back to this. She always has to be by my side, so when Daddy's in the shop, she wants to lay down and watch Daddy work. Most of the time, say it's too hot, I need to go inside. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit. There we go. That's what we wanted. Ooh, it's that gooey mess. See? Okay, now we've got goo. We've got goo. So here's what we do. We start with this. Get some pins. Get a popsicle stick. One of these. Get one of these like this. Take a popsicle stick. Now, if you make a silicone mold and you cut it, this is how you fix it, okay? Take the silicone, put it to the side of the seam. Seam the side all the way down. Okay? Put it together to where it goes together like this. Like so. Let me get this raised up here so y'all can see everything. Okay? Put this together like this. Seam it. You want to get that silicone in there on the sides, right? Pull that together like this. Okay? When it gets perfectly aligned, that's where you want to pin it down. Now see, that's where that wiring would have come in handy. But see, I could take this pin and go up under here from the bottom and push it together. And it will lock that seam in there. Okay? See how that cut seams up? Now what I want to do, I could do it from the other side, but I hang something from this side. It's difficult to do this because I'm working on a form. There we go. So you seam all that together with that silicone on there and get that stick together right there. Like this. Okay. Now if this were clay, I could put this over clay and just stick pins into it. And they would work side by side. And just get some more silicone. And when you pin that together, and you have it all nice and straight and everything, like say right this piece here. Get that, you just take the silicone and just smooth it over the top. Kind of fill this gap. Now this has to be done bit by bit. You can't just do the whole thing at once. You got to do bit by bit. The trick is getting this thing to lock on here. Now, when I make a clay pour, if there's any defects or anything underneath there, like this, I will have to go back and fix those, refine it. But right now, like I said, it's just putting this together. I'm going to put a clamp on here to hold this down, to hold that together. Just seam that in. This dries rather quickly, but it's going to take a little time to do that. Now I'm going to take another pin, push it in from the other side, right next to that. And what you're doing is you're pinning that seam together. Connect another little clip or something heavy. Shut. Another one, a little one will work. And I'll clamp that right there. It won't go all the way in, but it's supposed to stabilize and hold it to where it will fit. There we go. Now, take a little bit more silicone and put it in there and seam it together. Now this is going to be probably a little bit bigger than normal. Like I said, you can get that silicone, seam it in there. It's hard to do, like I said, because I'm hanging it from the form, and there's nothing on the form to hold it up except the form itself. So the weight of the silicone is what's causing it to have these line ruptures. And then pull it together like that. And I have to find something to hold it. Usually, like I said, it's a heavy clamp, a big clamp. And put a clamp on there, like a metal clamp. I've got one over here. Big metal clamp from back here. Big metal clamp from back here. Put that on there. And the weight of that will hold that seam together. So hold the seam together. Put a little bit more silicone right there just to fill in that gap. put that seam together. I'm going to drop a little bit. It's going to be a tiny gap, but like I said, that's going to be workable. Because it just needs to cover it and close it. So when I do the clay pour, there's going to be a line there that's going to be need taken out. And then basically you just let that stay untouched, uninterrupted for a couple of hours. Like that. And just go down. Now see, I can do this for the seam work down here and it's not even touched. So where it's locked up or it's closed together, I could just apply the silicone like this and re-seam that cut. Okay? Put a little bit on this end. And what that does is that reseals it to where it closes the gap and it puts the cut edges together. So it makes this a whole piece. But thing is, we've got to do that all the way down the back of this. So when that dries, from here up, I will then have to go in here and put this together. I might be able to do it right now. I don't want to disturb this part, but I will put pins in through here to hold it together. See if we can redo this right here. These are known as taxidermy pins, upholstery pins. So, the ones you see like this, that's what we use to mount deer heads and stuff with, pin the skin and stuff down on it. So I've got a bunch of those. Okay, now if I can get the seam, and there it is. Now I can take some more silicone and work this section right here. So it looks like I might be able to do it almost all in one fell swoop. I do want to do large portions at a time if I can. So come right along here, push that down. Push that over. And then it's got a seam that's going to lock right here. So I can get this portion here, zig, zag, zig right there. I can get that done right now. Oh, I gotta put this down so I don't drop it, lose it, mess it up. And there we go. And that is a quarter of it. When that dries and cures, then I can push this in, pin it down, pin this down right here. But if I do too much and disrupt it, it's going to tear and disrupt this portion that's being welded together. So that's where we'll leave it for right now. And I will come back to this later. After a few hours, we'll do another live, we'll finish it up. Then we will we'll pin it. I'm gonna pin it and seam it, and then we will take the plaster and apply it over it, make a mold, and we'll do that loosely because, like I said, there is a gap between the silicone and the form. I don't want to push it down to where there's no give there, and it makes the actual head smaller. So I've got to try to conform this to exactly where it is seam wise, so when I do the loose plaster bandage over it, I can do that. And then we will do, I'll probably end up doing like a molding of the face part, the top of the head, and then portion here, because I'll have to cut this. I'll have to kind of rip and tear it to get it off the form and reseam it, put it back in the plaster bandage, melt down this clay down here. I've got a bunch of brown clay I've got to melt down and do. And then we can use that, and we can pour that into the silicone form and recreate the sculpting. And then take that and put that on another head form and ultracal it. Okay? So that's the entire process, and we're just going to go through this step by step. Alright? So that'll be it for now, and I will see you guys in a little bit. Taking off where we left off earlier this morning, we've got this mask here that we're doing a little bit of repair to. And what we've got is the seam. Remember, we did the silicone up to a point right here, so we used to flat. What I now want to go in and do is take off all these clamps and have a look at it. Still a little damp. We can pull these pins out of it right here. And you want to see how well put together it is insofar as the silicone and everything, because we're going to start, if it is successful, we're going to start with the molding part of this. Okay? So it looks like there is a split little seam on the top. But if we've got it successfully molded together, I want to see what the engagement of the air and stuff is right here. It's still split. So that's split. I gotta fix that. So it's gonna be a tiny short video. I gotta piece this back together. Because the weight of the silicone is causing the crack to come apart. So what I need to do really is take this off the form. And I'll do that by pushing these together without getting stuck. Like that with pins. Okay? I've got it pinned together where it's not going to pop off. What I need to do is pull this off the form without splitting it. Find a smaller form, possibly, or stuff it. I can stuff it with bags. But the thing that I need to do is make sure this seam right here, it's still a little split. I need to make sure that gets wedged together tight and it has a good dose of silicone in it. So right here, it's heavy enough that it'll stand on its own right here. So what I can do is take that silicone that we were using again this morning. I like to have something structured. I like to have it set up. But we have to see what we can do with this. So we're going to take a little bit of the silicone right here. And right here where the seam is, go right over the top of that. And push it in a little bit. thick on top. Thick. So just lay it down thick over the top. So that way it goes down in there. Do not worry about it sticking to the pins, because that will be what we'll do. And I can just leave it like this. And that will go in. There'll be a slight crease when I do the clay pour, but it will be pinned together. And then once we make the clay pour, I can go back in and trim that line out. That's no big deal. Okay? So we have to let that yak dry again. And then when that dries and sets out, I'll probably end up putting bags in here. And then we'll finish resealing the rest of this. And then what we could do is we stuff it in bags. I'll put it on another stand. We could do the plaster molding of it. And once that's done, we will, and by bags I mean the plastic grocery bags. All those little plastic bags. That's what I stuff masks with. So we have to wait for this to dry, cure right here. It did dry and cure all the way back here. So then what we have to do is take this and it dries and cures. We can set it on the top of the head, fill it up with bags, finish the seam right here, which basically kind of locks together, but we want to get it to where it's perfectly aligned as it was cut, like that. And then pin it, pin it, pin it, pin it, and seal it. But I don't want to do anything until this, well, I could probably hang this off the top of the head. Let me do that. Let me see if I can balance this right here without any issues. That'll stay right there. I'll go get a bunch of bags. Be right back. These are the bags I'm talking about. This is what you can do. These are the bags I'm talking about. You want to just put those in there, wad them up, stuff them up, put them in there. I got the wrong bag. I got my bag of napkins. Tried a bunch of napkins with those. We use those in painting. Got my bucket of bags right here. So I recycle my latex buckets into containers for bags and stuff like that. So I never waste anything. Chum buckets for fishing, all that stuff. All that good stuff. So what you do is just push it down in here. All the way down. Make that nice and firm. All the way down. Kind of like a basketball, if you will. I gotta be careful I don't fucking do this shit with this thing here. And I want to do this to be firm so I can set it up right like this, put it together like so, and still firm. Put it together, pinch it, and seal it. I need it to rest on something, so I'm going to rest on Jason right here. And then I'm going to pull a couple of these pins down. I'm going to put one pin right in the middle of this, feed it right through the silicone, one side to the other, while it's pinched together. Like so. And it makes a perfect seam. Perfect seam. So then what do? I Take a little bit of silicone. GE number 1, remember. GE number 1. And spread that right on top. Well, it'll go in there, but spread it right on top. And what that does is that will re-seal the silicone together. Okay? Very easy, very economical way to do this. No disrespect to schools or anybody that teaches people how to do this. It's just for those that can't afford things like this. This is how you can do it. Okay? I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody that does this professionally and all that stuff. There we go. Now this, see, already sticking to hitting the silicone right there. So there we go. Got that. And I got to take another pin. I want a long pin like this. I'm going to stick this in. I'm going to try to pin this corner. See, that's already come apart because I'm messing with it. But if I could pin this accurately, get this to seal with no issue. And get the seal with no issue, then we will have another extension that you'll be able to do and get it put together. And get it put flat. Okay, I'm going to lay it out. That's not going to work. I've got one pin. I got to come down the other direction. That's the problem. I'm trying to pin both from the same side of the silicone. You got to go this way, come down, go up, go that way. That's the type of thing. Cross section it to where it locks in. There we go. Now we got it. I'll get this to flatten out. There we go. I can get this flattened out. Pull that together. There we go. It's in nice and tight. Trying to get a lock in. And like I said, I should be doing it just a little bit at a time, so that's what I'm going to do. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to do this in one section at a time. Trying to do too much at once right now. I need to put me in balance. Get some more fluff up here. Get more fluff. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now it's sticking there. It's going to lay naturally. It's just going to lay down naturally. Alright. So, since it's laying down naturally with the bag stuck in it, I'm just going to go ahead and seal up the whole thing. And I'm going to just set it up here like this. Let it balance on here. Might have to pin it across the top of this one. Right here to hold it, I'll pin it in the flashing. I'll pin it right across that flashing right there. Just so that lines up and it seals up. And I don't have to push it together, squeeze it, and all that. Okay, now, take this silicone like this. There again. Come down, put it back over. There's going to be a very slight irregular line, but It will seal. Put that on there. Do this like that. Come up this side and we'll get it right here. So just come up and seal it right there. There we go. A little dab up there. And down. Boom. Like that. There'll be a small gap. There will be a small gap. But it will be what works. And that's what counts. Even though you're using unorthodox methods, that's what counts. Okay? Like I said, we got a complete seal working up on this. I'm going to do that right there. Still tacky and sticky here. But I gotta cover this right here again, because if I don't, I'm gonna go to make a mold. And I go to clay pour it. Clay's gonna come out and leak. And leak. And we don't want it to leak. And we're clay pouring it to bring it back so we can make a ultra-cal mold with it. Because you can't do a latex mold inside of this silicone. It has no way to dry. I could brush latex in there, but it would take weeks for it to fucking cure and do all that, because it has no way to stick to it and dry out. And if I make a ultra-cal mold for this, it only takes a day. I put it in front of this fan here, and there we go. That's it. Alright, so that's it for this one. Just reseaming of this right here again, and that's all we got to do. And now we just wait for that to dry. And I'm looking back at the comments. Sorry about that. I'll read it soon, yes. Okay. Yeah, this is actually a gray one. It's not blue, but it's part 4 Jason that I'm working on. I sculpted one last year and I wanted to refine it, make it better. So this is a Frankenstein mold for Frankenstein's monster that a client did, and I'm just gluing it back together where he cut it. And he did all this, the live from this morning, he used all these little wires to stitch it together. And he was going to make a mold, but then he got stuck and he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. So I'm like, gotcha. So there we go. We got this all sealed up and everything. So now it's just a weight gain. We'll let this sit here, cure, and we will have a complete thing. Then I can finish stuffing it. I don't need to put it on a stand. I just wanted to see how it would fit if it were on a stand. Because if I put it on a stand and I mold it with the plaster, it's going to go bloop, 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 and the plaster is going to be distorted. So I need to fill this with bags after it cures to where it's firm like a basketball. And all this dries and everything in a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours. I'll probably leave it overnight. But there we go. So that is it for the moment. And I appreciate you guys doing the follow and the gifting. Brad, sorry I didn't have you get in here, but I'm just doing this just kind of like a temporary thing. Got to download it, upload to the book of shit book, and you know, so the guy can follow it because he doesn't do it over here. So there we go.